partner at Lewis Rocker, okay? And this man, hang on, is an appellate lawyer who argues at the Nevada Supreme Court. And he was the lawyer for Team Construction, and Team Construction were one of the defence. So we had magician David Copperfield, aka Seth Kotkin, his company, Disappearing Inc., or yes, I think it was called Disappearing Inc., the MGM, Backstage Employment, which is a little made-up company that supplies David with all of his staff. But that company is actually owned by a chap called Ted Bloomberg. And what the jurors weren't allowed to know was that Ted Bloomberg is actually David Copperfield's lawyer, and they own the company together to provide staff. And I'm going to talk about that later. And then we have Team Construction. And Team Construction were involved because they were employed to do some construction work outside of the MGM, where they left all their rubble, which was left on the path that my husband was forced to run on, where he slipped and fell and sustained his brain injury. So going back to Daniel Posenberg, I would like you just to quickly listen to this.
Is Gavin Cox and Ian Hunt Cox versus Copperfield at home. Case number 76422. Mr. Posenberg.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Chief Justice Hardesty. May it please the court, Dan Posenberg for Team Construction. The very first Supreme Court argument, Justice Stephan asked me a question, and my answer was, and if you just listen to my words, you wouldn't know what I was saying. And I'm not sure much has changed. And we all know Judge Denton. So if Mr. Cox comes in at trial and exaggerates things to try to get sympathy, and we find out that we're being manipulated, then Judge Denton is going to feel like plaintiff pulled one over on the jury and on him. So he allowed that issue to come in, and credibility is not a collateral issue. Collateral issues are things that happen in conduct that's completely unrelated to the case or the litigation. Like if somebody had committed a crime in the past. And yes, they had the opportunity to explain this. Judge Denton told them that Mr. Cox can come up and rebuttal and explain why he seems to need assistance in the courtroom and yet doesn't outside the courtroom.
Well,
and so they have the opportunity.
Mr. Posenberg, if Mr. Cox could come up and explain, why couldn't their medical expert come up?
First of all,
he's essentially that he's faking or exaggerating his injury in the way he's moving inside the courtroom or outside the courtroom. So why was it okay for Mr. Cox to explain that but not a medical expert at that point?
Well, first of all, because the judge didn't want to get into detailed medical testimony and essentially break down the bifurcation.
So, TikTokers, did you hear that? Did you hear that lying scumbag say that my husband was manipulating the court, feigning his injuries? But you guys just saw the brain scan. And he thinks it's okay for a brain damaged person to go back on the stand and try explain to the jurors that he had a bleed on the brain when he's already struggling. You've seen the medical evidence with the things that he has huge difficulty with. Our lawyers told us that he would not be able to go back on the stand specifically because of that. And then you have Daniel Posenberg saying to the Nevada Supreme Court judges that my husband's a liar and a feigner and manipulating. But here's the best part. The best part is that Daniel Posenberg is the lawyer for Team Construction. And their insurer, Star, who pays all their litigation fees, sent me an email admitting that everybody knew, including Daniel, that the MGM lawyers cleaned up the accident site, tampered with the accident site the night before the jury review. Now, remember, we're talking about credibility here. So they have the audacity to question my husband's credibility. Now, the point is that had Team Construction made a motion to the court and had Copperfield and the MGM's case thrown out because of their criminal activities and their criminal behaviour, Star Insurance would not be having to pay 10 years of litigation fees. But Daniel wants to be paid. All the lawyers want to be paid. So they continue this litigation for years and years and years. And then he has the audacity to stand in front of the Nevada Supreme Court and call my husband a liar and a feigner and a faker and a manipulator. Well, Daniel, those are words. Daniel Posenberg, donkey bollocks of Lewis Rocker, who thinks he's the big, top, hotshot lawyer in Las Vegas, manipulating, lying, deceiving, pulling the wool over the judge's eyes. I think, my love, you are just describing yourself, and you are a despicable human being. And now everybody knows the truth. Because do you know something? Spotify recently used the word fucking grifters. Sorry, TikTok, please, for swearing, but I'm just repeating what Spotify, they recently used that terminology. And I've just come to realise that that expression actually applies to Daniel Posenberg, magician David Copperfield, his lawyer Elaine Fresh, the MGM's lawyer Jerry Popovich, and all the other scumbag lawyers that were there that night, altering and tampering with the accident site after my husband testified. And you have the audacity to say that my husband was manipulating the courts? I don't think so.